Hello there guys, I am the dude playing Slay the Spire, and today I'm going to be introducing you to Slay the Spire. Now, what is Slay the Spire? Slay the Spire is a deck building roguelike card game, and it's much easier if I show you. It's a game that is still in early access, which means that, you know, it's in early build, there's still a lot more to come. It's getting weekly patches and weekly updates, as we will see here. If I click on this, you'll see that there's stuff that's not available yet. So they are regularly adding new content, so it's definitely a game worth checking out. It's not a free game, it does cost a bit of money, but it's relatively cheap. It's about £10 or €10 or, I don't know what that is in dollars, like $13, $14 on Steam. It's definitely worth taking a look at if you like the look of it. So I'm going to show off the game a little bit. As you can see, there's still some more game modes that aren't unlocked yet, and there's also a character that's not unlocked yet. So at the moment, at this particular moment in time, there are two characters. There's the Ironclad and the Silent. Now, the Ironclad's thing is he just hits really hard. He's very straightforward. He does a lot of damage. And the Silent is more of a combo-oriented character. It's like, you know, it'll do things like it'll play a bunch of cards in a turn to gain benefits for each card it plays, or it'll poison the enemy and play defensive whilst they slowly burn out. Now, you have this what's called an Ascension mode, which is just an increased difficulty. I'm not going to be playing on that because I just want to demonstrate what Slay the Spire is about, and I want to show off the game to people who just don't know about it yet. So let's go on it. I'm going to play the Silent because I enjoy the Silent more, but both characters are perfectly viable. You start off the game by talking to a whale. Yep, a whale. So let's talk to him. So we get a little bonus here. So what do I want to pick here? I'm going to go obtain a random rare card. I don't like that card, that's a shame. So how does the game work? Well, you have yourself a certain amount of HP. Now, you do not recover HP after each combat as the Silent. The Ironclad does have something where he gains 6 health after every combat, but this is the health you have for the entire run. The only ways to replenish it are with certain events, which are on these question mark little areas, and you have campfires, which you can rest at and recover HP, and every time you finish a map, or an act as it's called in the game, you do heal to full as well. So that's your main ways of recovering HP. So what happens is, you look at your paths, and you can pick your own path. Now, you can only go up a path, you can't go back, and you can only like go forward. So for example, if I come to this question mark over here, I can't go down and then loop around. I have to go up to then face this elite. As you can see from this legend on the side, I apologize for that editing out there. I had a little error with my recording setup, so I do apologize, but nothing else has changed. I've just made it so that it's more viewable, and I do apologize for the start there. So, as you can see from this legend on the side, it tells you what everything is. So these are regular enemies, those are your regular combats. You have these guys with the horns here, which are elites, which are much tougher enemies. You've got, can I see any shots here? I'm not seeing any shops. Am I blind? Or, oh, there we go. You've got shops here in which, funny enough, you shop. You earn gold from certain question mark events, and you gain gold from winning combats. And that's it, you pick your own path. So for example, let's say I had 10 HP, I would look for a campfire because I don't want to die. The other thing you can do at campfires is you can upgrade your cards. So what other cards? Well, here's your starting base deck. I got this, but normally wouldn't get that. You can get different cards depending on what option you pick from the whale. And each card has a mana cost. You play the card, it takes away from your mana cost, and then you use the card. So let's go into a combat so I can just show that off. So you have what are called relics. These provide you with a bonus in combat or out of combat, as the case may be. For this character, at the start of each combat, she gains, I believe it's a she, gains 2 additional cards, which is quite a useful thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over cards for a split second longer than I normally would, so that you can pause the video and read the cards so you can keep up with it. But I will explain what a lot of them do anyway. So what I want to do here is I want to play my Neutralize. Now Neutralize is a 0 mana cost card, which is pretty good to begin with, because in this game you're more often limited by mana than you are your cards. So I'm going to Neutralize, deals 3 damage and applies 1 weak. Now what is weak? Well, weak is a status condition, and status conditions negatively impact you. So for the enemy, he deals 25% less damage next turn, and the way status conditions work is at the end of every turn, they drop by 1. Now for this character in particular, there's a poison mechanic with some of the cards, and poison will deal damage equal to the amount of poison stacks that are on them. So say I had 10 poison stacks on this enemy right here, it would deal 10 damage and then it would drop down to 9. So it would do 10, then 9, then 5, and 10, then 9, then 8, then 7, and so on and so forth. But that's the only one that does damage like that. The rest of the statuses have some sort of benefit, such as, or disadvantage, or beneficial for us, I suppose. So this guy deals 25% less damage, or if he was vulnerable, he'd take 50% more damage, and so on and so forth. I'll explain them as they come up and as they become relevant. So what I'm going to do this turn is I'm just going to do a strike. I'm going to pitch my hand for a bunch of shivs, because shivs are 0 mana cost cards, and they just deal 4 damage. Now, exhausting removes cards until the end of combat. So that means that you don't shuffle them back into your deck. You cannot deck out in this game. When you run out of cards in your deck, what will happen is, or draw pile, as they call it, you'll shuffle your entire discard pile into your draw pile, so you can never run out of cards. I mean, there are ways, but you'd have to actually try and get very lucky to do it, so it shouldn't really be a thing. So this is defend. Defend gives you block. Now, what is block? Block is temporary HP that you lose at the end of the turn, and it blocks damage for you, funnily enough. So I'll play a block. You see here, I gain a little buffer. That means I take 5 less damage next turn. Now, because your health HP doesn't replenish very easily, you have to go out your way to do it. You would need to be careful about how much you take. I'm happy taking 1 damage to deal more, and that's because this guy gave himself a buff, and it's Ritual. Now, Ritual gives him 3 strength at the end of every turn. What does strength do? Strength gives you a bonus 1 damage per strength point. So at the end of every turn, he's going to hit for 3 more damage, and this adds up. This turn I have no aggressive plays, so I've just got to defend, sadly. So that's what I'll do. And hopefully we can draw 3 strikes next turn and we can kill him. Nice, perfect. We'll just do that. So at the end of at the end of every combat, you get to add a card to your deck and you get some loot. So here I get 16 gold and a poison potion. Potions don't take an action, you just use them, they don't cost any mana or anything. So this one would just poison a guy for 6 damage. And then you get to add a card to your deck. Now, I've got maximum unlocks, which the way the game works is when you first have it, you don't have much of a card pool. You don't have a huge pool of cards to choose from. And as you gain more unlocks, you can gain more relics, and you can gain more cards, which you can pick from. So when you get these options to come up, you can pick a new card. So what am I going to pick here? I'm going to go with... I'm going to do this really good, but I'm going to go with Well-Laid Plans. Well-Laid Plans is pretty good. It's a power. Powers, they don't exhaust, but you can't draw them again. They don't shuffle into your deck once they've been used, and they provide you with a permanent benefit for the rest of the combat. So let's see what we've got here. Okay, so in question mark rooms, you can get combats. So what do these guys do? They have Curl Up, and once they take attack damage, they will roll up and they will gain some block. Now, one thing I really love about this game, aside from the art and the music, which is incredible, is you see what the enemy wants to do. And this is really great because this lets the player be in control. The player can really see what is going on and they can play around it, and it's basically, it just removes a lot of the bullshit from the game. Now, there is some stuff which I personally don't like about the game, but there's a lot I really do like. I really like this game, and that's mostly just because you get to make the choices, right? Like, you look at the map, you can pick amongst all these paths, you can choose your own path, you can fight the enemies how you want, you get given all the information you could ever need, and that's what I really appreciate. So here I can see I'm going to take some damage, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to defend, and I'm going to make them use both their roll-ups, because block does expire at the start of your turn. So this way they lose their block, and they don't have to eat through damage that's not there. You know, they don't have bonus health that I'd have to eat through. So I'm going to play this, because it costs 0 mana. So I'm affected by Weakened right now, which reduces my attack damage, so I have to actually use 2 cards to kill this guy. And I don't need to do anything, because this guy isn't attacking. Okay, so he's made himself a bit buffer, which is a bit scary, but these guys aren't too bad. So I can just do this. There we go. Take Flying Knee. Flying Knee is a very good card. Right, so you might wonder why you would want to face elites, but elites give you powerful relics. They give you better benefits if you can kill them. So if you ever can, and if you are in a fighting position against an elite, it's a very good idea to kill them if you can, because you get a huge benefit for the rest of the run. Now, sometimes the relics can be a bit underwhelming or they don't really do much for your character, but it's one of those things where you just got to deal with it. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to empty my hand and just draw a bunch of shivs, because I take no damage that way and I deal a lot more. And because of my flying knee, I will gain additional mana next turn. So there are touching back on that theme of how the game tells you a lot of stuff, you have a lot of information available at your disposal. You can check your draw pile and see what's in there. It doesn't show the order, but each turn you draw 5 cards, unless you have some sort of modifier in place that lets you draw more or less. So if you have 5 or less cards, you know what you're going to draw. So next turn, I know for a fact I'm drawing 2 strikes and a survivor. Like, that is just a god-given fact right now, unless I alter it somehow. So what would happen is we'd try and draw 5 cards, we'd draw 3, our discard pile would get shuffled in, and then we'd draw 2. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to just dump everything, because there's no need in keeping everything. So this fight is over next turn, because I know for a fact I'm drawing 2 strikes. You can see exhausted cards here, and that's pretty much all the information you'll need to know, aside from your HP, of course, and buffs. You can hover over everything in the game, and you'll see all the debuffs and buffs that thing has. So you can see here we've got retain cards, which is the effective role plans. That's a shame. Oh, that's kind of a good card. I'm going to skip it though. There's a build I really like doing with this character, and that's not part of it. Noxious Fumes. Excellent. We've got Noxious Fumes. Noxious Fumes is an incredible card. It applies 2 poison at the start of every turn to all enemies, and this is what we call a win condition card. This card means that you have won. The enemy is now dead. You just need to survive long enough for the poison to stack up. So what it will do is at the start of your turn, it will apply 2 poison, and then at the end of their turn, or at the start of their turn, they'll take 2 damage, and then they will drop down to 1 poison. So it does stack up infinitely, because it stacks up more than it drops down, which is huge. So I'm going to definitely take that. Noxious Fumes is probably the single best card in the game, if you don't count for combos and stuff, and I really like it. So let's see what we get. Okay, so this guy, he buffs himself, and what this buff does is, as I think we've already seen it, he just gains more damage every turn, so we want to deal with him quickly, which we are going to do. I'm going to take some damage, and that's intentional. I want to get rid of this guy really quickly, because he is terrifying. Do I want to use 2 poison potions? I'm going to use 1. So I'm taking damage. I won't be able to heal it very easily. I need to get to a campfire, which is quite a way away. So I've chosen quite a tricky path here. So let's hope I can get away with it. Excellent. Okay, cool. That was good draws. Cool. Right, so I'm going to kill this guy, and I'm just going to defend, because I don't want to take more damage than I have to. No, I misclicked. I misclicked, that's my mistake. Right, so 7 damage, so I'm just going to block twice. And I don't need to worry too much about dealing damage, because I've got Noxious Fumes going, and that just lets me kill these things without needing to actually attack. 10 damage. Okay, so if I do this, and I would get, well, this happens, I would get 12 damage. Yeah, he's dead. Cool. Ancient Potion gains 1 artifact. Now, artifact just makes you immune to the next debuff you take. I do like Alchemize. It's not a very good card, but I find it a lot of fun, so I'm going to use it here. So this boss, it doesn't actually say, which I don't like so much, but it doesn't tell you what sleeping is. But sleeping is essentially, he doesn't act until he takes damage. Now this isn't block damage, this is if he loses actual HP damage. Metallicize gains 8 block at the end of every turn, but once he wakes up he loses Metallicize, which is important to know. I wish they would tell you that, but they don't sadly, so you've got to kind of trial and error that. So I am going to wake him up immediately, because I got the Noxious Fumes. I've already established my win condition, so I can just afford to wake him up and get a bit of damage as I do so. So now he starts hitting very hard. So I can do reduces damage there, and I can just block. I'll take 3 damage. I'm comfortable with that. And this is one of those fights where you will really see Noxious Fumes come through and deal a lot of damage. I'm just going to go all-out defensive this turn. Because I don't need to deal the damage, I've got that Noxious Fumes. And this is the strategy that I personally feel is probably the Silent's most powerful strategy. Because it can combine with a lot of other things. So I'm going to strike, and I'm just going to get a bunch of shivs to deal damage. Because I'm not taking damage this turn, I don't need to block. And this is the game in a nutshell. It is changing your plans based on what's coming up, or changing your actions based on what the enemies are doing. So you see here, I've lost strength and dexterity. So what do these do? Well, we've already discussed strength, so now I've got -1 strength. I will deal 1 less attack damage with every card I play, and I've got -1 dexterity, which means I will decrease my block. The block I gain has been decreased by 1 for every block card I play. So that's what this guy does. That's his way to win. He's going to try and reduce you to nothing, and so you can't block or defend or even kill him, which is why you need to kill him quite quickly. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do both of these, put some mana in for next turn. Ouch. Okay, so I'm going to neutralize. That weakens him. It means he deals less damage. Good. I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to dump everything into him. And the Noxious Fumes is really doing a lot of damage. Like, you don't get to see it very much because it's just gradual, but it really does add up. And I think he might be dead. No, he's not dead. But he is next turn. Because Noxious Fumes will give us the damage we need, so I'm just going to skip my turn. And boom, we got him. So now we get a powerful relic. Now, how powerful? We'll find out. Ooh, okay, that's a decent one. It's not bad. So rest sites are the campfires I was talking about. So this is a good card. It's just 4 bonus damage every turn. You can make a Shiv build. I'm not going for that. I want to go for a heavy combo-based build because I think it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to go for the out-to-maneuver here. These guys, not too much of a problem. And Noxious Fumes, there we go. Okay, so Noxious Fumes. And I'm just going to defend. No reason not to. So this is where Noxious Fumes really shines, because there's 3 different guys and they're all going to take poison damage, which is very nice for us. These are the ones that curl up and gain block once you attack them, so I will be playing around that. I'm just going to go all out defensive. I don't need to go aggressive because I've got Noxious Fumes going. It's not a problem. Now, the other character's playstyle is very different. It's a lot more aggressive. It's a lot more in your face. Take a bit of damage to deal a lot of damage, that kind of thing. Which character's better? I personally get on better with a Silent, but I believe a lot of people feel like the Ironclad is better. The Ironclad is the other character, but I can't fairly comment. I just get on better with this character, I know that much. So I am just going to chuck everything. And I'm going to... yeah, I'm not going to keep any cards, there's no need. So I think we've got this in the bag. We've got Noxious Fumes going. Like, this guy is already dead. I just need to hit one of these, each of these guys once, or just defend, which I am just going to do. There we go. And this is why I like this character. I like this think about your plays, do something other than just hit the enemies really hard. But of course you can pick whatever your preferred playstyle is. What do we get? Footwork is very good. It's just gain 2 dexterity. So it is a power, so once it's used we won't be cycling it through our deck again. I'm not going to fight the elite because I don't have the health. So I'm going to alter my play based on the map. Ah, this guy. Okay, so this guy steals gold whenever it attacks, and after a certain amount of attacks he'll just run away, so you want to kill this guy quickly if you possibly can. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to chuck a poison potion on him, use 2 defense to block, and I'm going to gain a new potion. That's very nice. I'm actually just going to... am I going to use that? What have I got coming up? Yeah, I'm going to use it. You do tend to get a lot of potions, and I do have Alchemize, so I'm just going to use one. It's not that big a deal to lose it. Thief, help me! So I do this, and I definitely do this, and I'll do this to deal some damage. So as I said, you do want to kill this guy quite quickly. It's just annoying to lose gold, and I do have a shop coming up soon, which could be a huge benefit to me. Cool, got him. I love this. I love the sounds in this game. Backflip is very good. Game 5 block, draw 2 cards. It's very simple. And I would love to show off the upgrading aspect, which I'll do, so I'm coming out to a campfire. Pen nib. Okay, so pen nib's not the greatest thing for this character, but it's still okay. So, what is upgrading cards? Well, campfires you can upgrade your cards at. Now what you do is you click on your upgrading cards, it will show you your deck, you pick a card and it will show you what the upgrade actually does. The changes will be in green. So for example, if I click this, it turns into a 0 mana cost card. This one, it gives me 3 dexterity instead of 2. Or this one, it gives upgraded shivs instead. It'll give you benefits to that effect. What I'm going to go for here is I'm going to upgrade my footwork because I don't want to take that much damage and it's a very good card. Let's go to this guy. Okay, so this guy splits. Now that means that when he's at half health, he'll split into 2 guys with the same amount of health that he currently has. So if he's on 35, if I make him split, or well, 30, because you can't, this guy won't split on 35, we will have to deal with 2 enemies that have 30 health. Whereas if you get him down to say 5 health, he'll split into 2 guys with 5 HP. So if you want to be optimal, you want to reduce him to the minimum amount of health you can possibly get him down to before he splits. Just swing in here. Didn't get the noxious fumes, sadly. Cool, we got the noxious fumes and alchemize. Block potion, very nice. Just swing in here. Oh dear. Alright, so I am weakened, so I do deal less damage, but that's not a huge deal, because I don't really care that much about the damage from attacking. Although, sadly, I didn't get very many block cards this turn, which is a shame. So I will be eating some damage. Why did I upgrade? I meant to rest. Oh no. I may have just lost as a result. Okay, let's just do this. Okay, I wanted to reduce his HP as much as possible before he split, so I didn't have to deal with as much enemy health as I could have. Oh, I can't believe I completely forgot to rest at the campfire there. That might really hurt me later. Okay. Fortunately, we do have the noxious fumes going, so this guy is going to be softened up by the time we get to him. I did not get the defensive cards I was looking for. Oops, it's fine. Okay, we're not taking damage. Okay. So in case you've forgotten, outmaneuver gives me a little thing where I gain 2 mana next turn, which is very useful, as I'm sure you can guess. This guy is dead. Excellent. Oh, okay, so these are all pretty good cards. This, I don't like it so much. It is a good card, but it just takes so much mana to establish. And this is a deck where you're already kind of starved for mana in the time you want to establish stuff. So you end up establishing it either like far too late, or you have to eat a lot of damage to establish it. And on a character that doesn't heal themselves, I don't like it. So I'm going to go with Piercing Wail. Piercing Wail is very good. And I'm going to heal. I will be facing an elite, but I'm hoping between all my potions and stuff, I should be able to get through it just fine. This guy's not too bad. Okay, so footwork happens. I'm going to drink a block potion because I'm going to alchemize. And I've got an explosive potion, that's okay. So I'm going to do this, going to do this, and I'm going to do this. So what I wanted to do there was I wanted to establish as much as I could. So next turn I have 3 additional mana. So I can just play so many cards here. And hopefully that should carry me. It did not carry me. No, it's not too bad actually. If I do this, 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 and hit him for some damage. Okay, so Pen Nib is now active, so I need to keep that in mind for my next attack. One thing I really do love is any modifiers to cards are displayed on them. So for example, these strikes now say deals 12 damage. So if I want to do it in this order. So if I now do that, I don't have pen nib anymore. My attack values go down. I love how it just updates like that. So this happens. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to eat 1 damage. Oh no, what a shame. Now, the real test will be on the elite, but I think I'll be fine. I should be able to top that Noxious Fumes very quickly, and hopefully not eat very much damage, if any at all. I don't care about Strength Potion that much. Ooh, Caltrops is a pretty good card. Yeah, let's go with Caltrops. Because it doesn't cost very much mana. Ah, these guys aren't too bad. They do have artifacts, they don't get poisoned very quickly, but that's not too big a deal. Ah, I didn't get the Noxious Fumes, that's a shame. I'm going to throw this out, and I'm going to alchemize. Very nice. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, so I just don't take any damage. I'm going to take debuffs, but I think that's fine. So what these guys like to do is they like to shuffle Dazed into your deck. Now, Dazed are a status card. So what that means is you can't play them, but you can discard them and stuff like that. So for these cards in particular, what they do is at the end of your turn, they'll just exhaust and disappear from your hands. They just eat up some of your draws, which is quite annoying, as I'm sure you can imagine. I have drawn terribly here, which is a real shame. I'm actually going to Swift Potion here. Lay plans. I would love to Piercing Wail to reduce the damage I'm taking, because it does reduce the strength of all enemies by 6, but they have artifacts, so they're not going to be debuffed. So there's not much point to doing that. Take a look at the map. I've got a campfire coming up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to prevent some of the damage I'm taking because I've got a big boss fight coming up and I don't want to deal with it. Simple as that. So I've got more Dazed into my deck now. Well, discard pile, so I'll draw it later. Noxious Fumes, excellent. I could just play a couple of defends. Pass, and I'll hold on to the Survivor. Man, this is annoying. That's the part of the game I don't like. I don't like how it tries to prevent you from playing. Now, I understand why it exists, right? And it's there to make it so that you can't just play defensive. It's just frustrating, you know? It's just like, hey, here's this strategy I've been building for the entire game, and now I just don't get to use it. I find that very annoying, but at the same time, there needs to be a threat of some sort, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to keep the Piercing Wail. I don't want to lose the Piercing Wail, which is why I'm not going to use Storm of Steel, because I would end up discarding the Piercing Wail. And it's not that I wouldn't draw it again, but I want it to be readily available for if they both attacked. Seems like they are not. So I'm going to Flying Knee this guy, and I can actually get rid of him, so that's what I'm going to do. Right, so I've got a bunch of these Dazed in my deck, so I'm probably going to draw a few. Hopefully I don't draw too many. So I'm going to defend, do that. Okay, we got him. We got him. Okay, negate the next 2 curses you obtain. Now, curses are cards that will stay in your deck and they have negative benefits. Some of them you just can't, well, you can't play any of them, but some of them only do that. Some of them will say something like you lose 1 HP for each card in your hand at the end of your turn, and stuff like that. There's one curse that can't be removed from the deck at all, and there's also one that will be innate, which means that it'll go in your hand every time you start combat, which is very frustrating because it just means you lose a draw. I don't want any of this. This is a fine card if you don't have a win condition yet, but we do. We have the Noxious Fumes, so don't worry too much about that. Now, when it comes to removing cards from your deck, I'm going to touch on that because we've just discussed curses. You can't just pick a card and remove it. You have to actually come across an event to remove it. You have to go to a shopkeeper or something, because otherwise you could just like remove a bunch of stuff that's crap. Like for us, we don't really need strikes. We could just remove them all and guarantee we draw Noxious Fumes and Caltrops and just defend. So you have to actually work to remove cards from your deck. I am most certainly going to rest here. And we gain 2 extra mana in the next combat, so hopefully we can have a big play. So what this guy does is after he takes a certain amount of damage, he'll switch to a defensive mode, where every time you attack into this defensive shell, you'll take a bit of damage. Shouldn't prove to be too much of a problem. Man, that's really unfortunate. Okay, let's just deal some damage. He does a lot of damage in his offensive form, but in his defensive form, he doesn't, so you can really play around that. The Silent matches up really well against this guy because he has, or she has, my bad, the Noxious Fumes, which doesn't proc this defensive Spiny Shell, which I'll get to show off shortly. And I'm just trying to prevent as much of the damage I'm taking as I possibly can here. Oof, this could be a close one. I might even lose it. Hopefully I don't. Okay, so we're just going to swing in here. Cool, so now he mode shifts. So as you can see, he's going to use a buff. So I'll pass my turn and we'll see the buff. And what this will do is we'll take X damage every time we attack. So in this instance, it's 3. Man, I'm not getting any defend cards. This is very, very frustrating. Okay, we'll keep this. I love the music for this game, it's so good. Let me know what you think of the game. If you want to try it out, if you get it from Steam, what you can do is you can... hang on, I was just thinking of my plays there for a moment. I would take 3, yeah, that's fine. So what you can do is you can purchase it from Steam, and if you have less than 2 hours logged on the game and you've owned it for less than 2 weeks, they'll do a refund with no questions asked. So that's your way to try the game if you like what you see so far. Can't deal 40 damage. Oh, it's going to be a very close one. Let's keep a strike. I want to get him back into that defensive form. Because when he's in that form, we can really defend ourselves and just block a lot of the damage we're taking. He's buffing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to intentionally not make him proc that. And that's so that we can get an extra stack of poison on him, which will be very useful for later. Or do I just get more mana? I think that's the better play. Just give us some more mana for the next turn. Yeah, okay, let's do that. And this is why I love Noxious Fumes, because I can just sit back and wait for that to slowly tick him out and get rid of him. So I can afford to take 3 damage there. Awfully similar to our Caltrops, isn't it? Okay, 8 times 2. Piercing Whale would be very nice here, but sadly we do not have it. So... yeah, okay, I'm just going to pass. I could have used the strikes there, but I would take a lot of damage to my block, which means that he would deal damage to me next turn. And I don't want to take damage, so there's really no need. Backflip. 5 times 4, so I can get rid of this. Is it worth taking 1 damage to gain extra mana? Yes. Or do I just hit for 6? What's in my deck? Let's get extra mana. Okay, it's not too bad. Right, so we're going to neutralize because it's just a bit of free damage. We're just going to dump a bunch of stuff in him. Going to intentionally hold this, and that's just because there's no reason to get rid of it. Nice. You can see the Noxious Fumes really coming through here. The damage is adding up very quickly. If you want to add up how much damage that one card has done, it's done 9 plus 8 plus 7 plus 3 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. So if you want to do the math on that, then by all means. I'm not going to sit here and do it because that would be boring for you. But it's it's just incredible. It's such a good card. Yes, I can do that. Didn't even matter. Let's keep this. So I don't need to rush this. Just going to poison him down. And then once this boss fight is over, we'll heal to full and we'll move on to the next map. So we'll just block here, block here, block here. And that's pretty much the fight over. I'm pretty certain I've won at this point. Yeah, it's over. We got him. Excellent. Ooh, okay, that was a lot closer than it needs to be because I didn't rest earlier when I normally would have, but it worked out for the better. So we get ourselves a weak potion, and we get ourselves a pick of a rare card. This is quite a good card. I'm not going to take it. My deck's very thick already, and I've already got myself a win condition. It would just be kind of overkill. Would be quite a bit of fun, though. So we get ourselves a pick of a rare relic. This is good, but for the purposes of this run, I don't want to run into elites too much. I want to try and get to the end if I possibly can, just to show off more of the game. So I'm going to I'm going to take something that I don't have to face elites to benefit from. That was a shame. I'd rather have my dexterity potion than an ancient potion. Cloak and Dagger is a very good card. I'm going to take it. It's a bit of block and a bit of damage in one. And I'm blacking block at the moment. Let's have a look at our paths. So I've got quite a bit of gold, so going to a shop would be quite nice. There's a couple of chances to upgrade some cards here. That looks like a very nice route. Let's go along this route. Two thieves. Hopefully I don't get mugged for too much. So let's do this, let's do this. Let's gain some block. And we'll just do a bit of damage here. Noxious Fumes is great against multiple enemies. And you always want to establish your powers early if you can, because you'll benefit more from them the longer the battle goes, because they are just a permanent benefit. Let's just drink it. Take less damage. I think that's better. There's no need to take damage there, so why would I? Hiya! So as I would like to remind you, this game is in early access. There's a lot more content coming. There's another character, probably some other game modes, although that's not being confirmed or anything stated about it. But based on the layout of the menu, it's quite a reasonable guess to think that there would be some more game modes coming. And there are weekly updates. There's bug patches, there's balance patches, new cards get added, stuff like that. One of the recent updates took away a level of unlock, so it took less time to unlock everything, which I thought was a very good change. I want to kill one of these guys so I don't lose as much money, but I fear it's not going to happen. Okay, we get rid of one of them. Take that. Did nothing. Okay, I got mugged. Feels bad. Upgraded backflip is very good. Prepared is a very good card. Now, it doesn't seem like it because you do end up losing a card, right? You play a card, you draw a card, and then you discard one. So you end up at -1 in your overall card count. But when it's upgraded, you draw 2 and you discard 2. And this is good because even though it's still a -1, it's a lot of deck thinning potential. You get to the cards you really want, and you can discard the status cards that the enemies give you, like wounds, which are literally just unplayable and clog a slot. So it's kind of like pluses in that way, that you get more cards because you get rid of the useless cards you can't use. So do I want prepared or do I want backflip? I'm going to take prepared.